So let me get this straight. The farmers of Arkansas are asking the federal government for handouts, for checks, because they are struggling financially because of the tariffs and other policies of Donald Trump. They can't sell their soybeans and other goods into foreign countries like China because of the tariffs. They're now too expensive for them to be able to sell them into China because of the retaliatory tariffs. And they can't afford equipment. They can't afford the high rising prices of equipment because of other tariffs on goods and manufacturing and raw material and everything like that. And they are saying they have never seen it this bad. There was a farmer who's in his 39th season of farming, and he says he has never seen it this bad.
So I saw that the soybean farmers in the state of Arkansas are having a find out phase. And you know what I hate to say? I told you so. No, seriously, I'm really sick and tired of the fact that the left keeps having to say, I told you so, because we didn't want anybody to suffer, okay? We voted for everybody to survive and thrive, and you voted for the suffering of other people, and here we are. You are actually the one who is paying the price and suffering, because you can't sell your soybeans to China because what's that? Tariffs. You can't get that new farming equipment that you needed because of why? Tariffs. Didn't the experts tell you that? Didn't people warn you this would happen?
I read an article yesterday about how farmers in Arkansas are organizing to beg the Trump administration for federal financial aid because they are being economically devastated by Trump's policies, most specifically the tariffs. And you know, it's hard for me to cultivate empathy and compassion in this situation. I think the knee-jerk response is, you get what you vote for. You were okay with hurting other people, but you're not okay when it's you.
Family, white Arkansas farmers are begging the federal government to help them financially because they're struggling economically with their farms. This is the biggest FAFO moment yet in America this year, after they are now afraid that they'll lose their farms. The cost, for farm machineries are going high and high each and every day. They do not have markets to sell their soybeans because the tariffs are so high. They cannot sell to China or even Ukraine, and things are just becoming mind-blowing right now. They voted for a leader who told them openly that he'll be doing immigration, and they know very, very well that they were depending for immigrants, in their farms. Right now, they are having a rude awakening. They are crying all over the internet, asking for help, asking the federal government to come through for them, a government they voted for. They knew that their interests would be met, but right now they're having a very huge FAFO moment. So family, in this video, you'll see people react to this fact. Once the series of videos are done, we will get back and do a critical analysis about the same. Family, in a special way, I want to take this opportunity to thank all my subscribers who are taking their time to support my channel through buying me a coffee. The link is on the description below. Thank you guys. Let's watch the video. Once it's done, we will be back shortly.
Arkansas overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump, but now his tariffs are crushing its farmers. Watch.
And it's so bad that many are facing bankruptcy or even the closure of farms that have been passed down for generations. A dismal global market and plunging commodity prices mean there's little to no hope of breaking even for many farmers, even as sky-high input costs rise because of inflation and now tariffs.
This time last year, the rice price was about 40% higher than it is now. The inputs costs have gone up. So after a horrible year last year, where most farmers in Arkansas Delta lost money, this year's going to be worse.
Now, under Trump, farmers face over $1 billion in projected losses this season. Up to a third could go under because Trump's big, beautiful bill won't release farm aid until late next year, and that's way too late. But when Joe Biden was president, farmers had relief programs while the disasters were happening. There was no, hey, you're going to have to wait until late next year. And when Kamala Harris ran, she proposed giving small farmers more access to credit, to crop insurance, while cracking down on big agriculture, and even pushing the right to repair law so that farmers could fix their own equipment. And look, I'm not under the illusion that one day Arkansas is suddenly going to vote blue. What I am saying is that the idea that Joe Biden or Kamala Harris didn't reach out to the working class or farmers is bullshit, because by any metric, Biden-Harris delivered more for farmers than Donald Trump did. Donald Trump ran on tariffs, and these farmers knew the consequences and still voted for him. And now, because of their steadfast commitment to allowing Donald Trump to help tank their business, they're now going to have to be bailed out with our blue state federal tax dollars.
So it looks like Arkansas farmers are in the find out phase of the fuck around and find out part.
We're going to lose 25 or 30% of the farmers in this country if they don't do something. It has to be done, and it's not just here. It's everywhere.
Because farmers from all over the state of Arkansas came together to have a town hall meeting with some representatives from the government, explaining their struggles and what they might need to help them. And just as a friendly reminder, during the 2024 election, the state of Arkansas went 64.2% towards President Orange Man. But let's continue with the rest of this clip, because it seems like one farmer might be having a realization as to what may be causing all of these issues.
For Brown, there is something that rounds out all the issues that they are facing: the tariffs.
I think the tariffs are the ice cream on the cake of a perfect storm. When you try to sell a product, okay, U.S. soybeans leaving New Orleans without the tariff to China are cheaper than Brazilian soybeans at the current market. But when you put the tariff on top of them, Brazilian beans are cheaper.
Now, I'm actually glad he's making the correlation that it has something to do with the tariffs. But I've noticed a pattern when it comes to some of these people, when it comes to the tariffs, that they never make the connection or blame towards the person that actually caused these tariffs. And I'm gonna give him a major hint that it has to do with the person that won 64.2% of the vote in that state during the 2024 election. And this Arkansas farmer seems like he has a solution for this problem.
So, how can this be fixed?
In the short term, they have no choice but to mail us a check. I don't know a farmer that likes the check program. Nobody wants to take taxpayer dollars, but nobody wants to go broke.
Yep, you heard that right. He's asking for a government handout, which is socialism, which he says he doesn't like them, but during these past years, there have been lots of subsidies and checks going out for farmers, including bailouts that happened during President Orange Man's first term. Because during his first term, financial aid to farmers was about $28 billion, costing more than Navy shipbuilding, the nuclear forces, NASA, and even children's health insurance. So yeah, you guys do love to receive bailouts and handouts. All the while, you guys tell other people who need financial aid, such as single mothers with kids who need food stamps, that they should pull themselves up by the bootstraps, but for some reason you guys don't like doing it yourselves. And this is just another episode in the saga of Fuck Around and Find Out. I don't even know what episode number we're on, but yeah.
If you're not living under a rock, then you have probably heard about Arkansas farmers this weekend getting together to beg the federal government for subsidies. That's right, welfare. They want money from our government to bail them out because they voted for this. This is what happens when you vote for somebody who told you what they were going to do, and now they're doing it. And they want to come in and be able to buy your farms for pennies on the dollar. Sorry, but you voted for this, so these are your consequences. I don't feel sorry for you. I really don't. And you're in the find out phase. You voted for it.
Hundreds of struggling Arkansas farmers pleading for emergency federal funding amid a farm economy crisis.
And it's so bad that many are facing bankruptcy or even the closure of farms that have been passed down for generations.
Sounds to me like a bunch of welfare queens boo-hooing for a handout. Wah, give me money, give me money. What do you think, money grows on trees? You need to find those bootstraps and tug real hard. Frankly, I think it's in God's will. It was put on my heart that the Lord needed to take away your farm because you are a dumb fuck. You literally got everything you voted for. You're a hypocrite, you're an idiot, and I'm glad you're losing your farm. You need to learn a lesson. This is natural selection at work. Soon enough, a huge corporation is going to buy your farmland, and maybe you can come back and pick those crops, you know? Out in the sun all day long, hands bleeding. I see that in your future and it makes me very happy. And I'm not the only one.
So let me get this straight. The farmers of Arkansas are asking the federal government for handouts, for checks, because they are struggling financially because of the tariffs and other policies of Donald Trump. They can't sell their soybeans and other goods into foreign countries like China because of the tariffs. They're now too expensive for them to be able to sell them into China because of the retaliatory tariffs. And they can't afford equipment. They can't afford the high rising prices of equipment because of other tariffs on goods and manufacturing and raw material and everything like that. And they are saying they have never seen it this bad. There was a farmer who's in his 39th season of farming, and he says he has never seen it this bad. He literally said, Donald Trump, you said you love us, but I'm not seeing the fruits of your love. What the fuck? Arkansas farmers, and they're saying, of course, it's affecting everywhere else. We saw Nebraska was having problems, facing bankruptcy. Farmers across this country are facing a huge pinch, and a lot of it has to do with Donald Trump and his policies. Well, you should have thought about that, farmers for Trump, when you went into the voting booth and places like Arkansas, Indiana, Iowa, Nebraska went ruby ass red in 2024 in November. You guys made your bed, you fucked around, and now you're finding out. So yeah, the fruits of Donald Trump's love are rotten pieces of shit. If you didn't know that going in, you know it now. So as your farm continues to struggle and you're looking for a socialist handout, why don't you try pulling yourself up by your bootstraps that you preach to everybody else about and do something about it? Because frankly, the rest of the country doesn't give a damn anymore. You should have thought about that before you sold the rest of us down the river.
I read an article yesterday about how farmers in Arkansas are organizing to beg the Trump administration for federal financial aid because they are being economically devastated by Trump's policies, most specifically the tariffs. And you know, it's hard for me to cultivate empathy and compassion in this situation. I think the knee-jerk response is, well, you get what you vote for. You were okay with hurting other people, but you're not okay when it's you. Fuck around and find out. All those sorts of things. And it's not that those sentiments are invalid. I mean, here you have a group of people who overwhelmingly shake their fist at socialist policies, Marxist policies, which of course they don't know what those are, while at the same time they've got their hand out. They are furious at black and brown people living off government welfare. But here, they expect it, which is the epitome of white supremacist, white privilege, resenting other people for needing what you think you're entitled to. But I think, I have got to try to move beyond those sorts of resentful sentiments because I'm a Christian. And Jesus, the gospel says that when Jesus saw the crowds, he had compassion and pity for them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. Sheep are stupid animals that are pretty much incapable of thinking for themselves. They need somebody watching out for them. Trump has preyed upon the stupidity and the ignorance and the racism of people like these farmers in Arkansas. And it doesn't excuse their ignorance. It certainly doesn't excuse their racism. There should be consequences. But at the same time, these people have been exploited and manipulated, and now they are hurting. And I feel like there's got to be still room for compassion and empathy, even though it certainly does not come natural to me.
These Republican farmers in Arkansas are finding out the hard way. Hundreds of them packed into a Baptist church in Brooklyn, lining up out the door, hats in hand, begging for help. Why are they begging for help? Their farms are failing all thanks to Donald Trump, a guy most of them all voted for. Their crop prices have crashed, and costs for fertilizer, fuel, and equipment are through the roof. One farmer says, last year rice paid 40% more. Now we're spending more to grow it and making less than ever. Some of them are walking away from land that's been in their families for centuries. We're done, one farmer said. My son won't be the 7th generation. Ruining your family's legacy to own the libs. What a great idea. Then one farmer, who spent 39 years in the field, said, Mr. Trump, you looked at me and said, I love you. Mr. Trump, I need to see the fruit of your love. Yeah, Fafo's giving you the side eye too, because what the heck was even that? The guy you voted for doesn't even have love for his own wives. What makes you think he's going to love you? Trump wrecked your markets with his trade war. Trump's farm bill delays help for people like you until next year. And his party is the one cutting the programs that you're now begging to keep. You voted for the people who said government help is socialism. And now you want to bail out? I farm 800 acres with 50-year-old tractors, another farmer said. I can't afford help. I can barely hang on. They thought the government cuts would hurt someone else. The poor, the cities, the immigrants. Not them. But now the Trump administration has come for their land and their family. And guess what? They're finally living in the America they voted for.
So I saw that the soybean farmers in the state of Arkansas are having a find out phase. And you know what I hate to say? I told you so. No, seriously, I'm really sick and tired of the fact that the left keeps having to say, I told you so. Because we didn't want anybody to suffer, okay? We voted for everybody to survive and thrive. And you voted for the suffering of other people, and here we are. You are actually the one who is paying the price and suffering. Because you can't sell your soybeans to China because what's that? Tariffs. You can't get that new farming equipment that you needed because of why? Tariffs. Didn't the experts tell you that? Didn't people warn you this would happen? But no, you let your internalized hate, racism, and misogyny override literal facts that were right there in front of your face that made you vote against your own best interests. And here you are, expecting a government bailout yet again. You didn't want anybody else to get government bailouts. That's socialism, and you don't like that. So what makes you so different and so deserving when you voted against government money going to anybody who has stumbled upon a hard time? Why do you get it? What makes you better than other people? Again, I don't like that we are having to say, I told you so. Okay, I wanted you to do well. I wanted you to survive and thrive. But this is what you voted for.
Arkansas farmers and beyond have fucked around and found out. You overwhelmingly voted for something that you thought you'd get, but you don't get, right? Your business is failing. Now you got to file for bankruptcy or go with your little hands out and say, please help me. Well, if I start a business and it fails, I can't just go say, give me a handout, please. It don't work that way. And now you want our tax dollars to pay for it. Won't happen. You're not going to get the help you're looking for. You chose what you got, not us. If I need help, I'm just screwed. I can't do shit about it. File for bankruptcy and hope for the best is all I can tell you. And your beans and your vegetables, by the time they get to me, they got so many pesticides and chemicals on it, it makes me sick to eat it. So, I don't know what to tell you, but this is your fault. Y'all chose everything you got. You thought you were gonna get help, and you were lied to, friend.
I've been thinking about all of these farmers in Arkansas who are finding out that their votes matter. Your prayers don't. Jesus has got to be so confused because a few months ago they were praying to protect Donald Trump and to make sure that he was elected president. And now they are praying to Jesus that Donald Trump changes his mind and gives them a bailout. Like Donald Trump showed up in the middle of your fucking farms and told you exactly what he was going to do. I'm going to deport everybody in this country. And that didn't make your alarms go off to think, wait a second, I have a bunch of illegal immigrants who are working my farms. This would not be good business for me. Maybe I should vote for somebody else. No, I'll vote for Donald Trump. And then Donald Trump sat there and said, I'm going to cut foreign aid to any foreign country. And you guys thought he was only talking about Ukraine because you guys are a bunch of fucking assholes. No, he was talking about everybody. He cut the whole department. That was your number one customer. And then your number two customer is China, that he decided to put tariffs on. So now China told us all to fuck off, and they're buying their soybeans elsewhere. I'll be darned. You guys just got what you asked for. Fuck. The only way you can undo this is to join our chorus once and for all, us liberals, who told you all along that this was going to fuck everything up for everybody. You guys are just the first few to start finding out. We're all going to get screwed here. So anyway, the solution here is for you guys to speak the fuck up and go tell your elected representatives that if they don't grow a backbone quick and start standing up to Donald Trump and undoing this bullshit, you're not going to reelect them. And then it doesn't matter who's gerrymandering, because if enough people get fucked by the Trump administration, then you guys are going to have to start voting for the alternative to your Republicans. That means you got to start voting for Democrats. And there's so many people in this country who would rather vote against themselves than vote for a fucking Democrat. Introducing farmers in Arkansas. You guys just voted against yourselves. No liberal tears for you guys. Fuck around and you find out. Join the chorus and stand up to this bullshit, and let's bring it to an end. In the meantime, your prayers aren't going to work, but your votes just did.
Family, these very same farmers were so happy at the time that Donald Trump was campaigning. They even defended him publicly. Right now, they are having a very big FAFO moment. They are seeing how life has become difficult. They are afraid that they may lose their farms. They are complaining that life is very expensive. Possible markets are also blocked for them because of high tariffs. And fam, this is one of the biggest FAFO moment in the history of America in 2025. These Arkansas white farmers are now seeing and regretting even why they voted Donald Trump. They voted for their own interests. And funnily enough, these people were somehow dumb during the time of the election, because Donald Trump went straight, and told them that what he'll pioneer and some of the things that he'll push so much would be immigration, ensuring that there are mass deportations, and they still went ahead to vote for Donald Trump. The other thing that also was funny to me, them voting Donald Trump, they knew so well that their farms would be affected, but they still chose to go to vote Donald Trump as the president of the United States of America. Family, they chose their own interests to whiteness, because that there is a very racist moment where you choose a leader because of their skin color. You choose them because you know that you all lied under the white privilege. But funnily enough, it hasn't happened. White liberals are also taking their time to confront them and laugh at them, telling them that you all made a mistake. You all knew that won't be working for you, and you still chose to vote for Donald Trump. Family, right now they are having a very big FAFO moment. They had a town hall the other day begging the federal government, asking them for handouts, telling them that life is becoming very expensive. They want to match financially with the cost of living. They want to match the tariffs that they are getting. A lady mentioned that they were getting up to 40% in profit in rice crops, but right now it's taking them even more money than their actual returns, to even be able to farm these very same plants. Cost of machineries are going up and up each and every day. Their target markets cannot be able to afford them right now because of the higher tariffs. They are going in losses. They are losing their laborers, most of which were immigrants, and right now they're on the edge, of getting bankrupt. And right now they are opening their eyes and saying, we messed up. We understand it's late, and the only people who can rescue us is the same people we voted for. So right now they're asking the federal government to come through for them. The federal financial aid, they're asking for the federal financial aid because they're struggling economically by Trump's policies, especially his tariffs. They are now getting what they actually voted for. They were actually okay hurting other people. When they voted for Trump, they're okay hurting other people. They knew that for them, they had a soft spot with the president, that most of these policies won't be able to affect them. But right now, they're having a rude awakening. You know, everyone is being affected right now in America. All sectors. Doesn't matter the color of your skin, doesn't matter who you voted for, everyone is being affected right now in America. And family, it wows so many people, and actually many folks are laughing at them because they actually voted against other people's interests. They thought that they'll be covered under the umbrella that comes with whiteness when Donald Trump was the president. Right now, they're having a very, very huge awakening. Life is becoming more and more difficult each and every day. I'd imagine how they're surviving. I'd imagine what market can be able to buy their farm produce with that price. You know, it's becoming crazy and crazy each and every day. They were also mad at black and browns, you know, in welfare because they think they deserve it more. You know, for the longest time, they've been saying, no, we do not depend on welfare as white folks. You know, as farmers, we are okay. But right now, they are mad at black and brown people who depend on this same welfare. They think that they deserve welfare more. That just shows you another angle of supremacy they want to bring, even in the sector of welfare. They are now okay with begging. They are now okay with getting federal aid, you know, something that they once say they cannot, you know, opt to. They are now depending on that. They are now looking at the federal government with the federal aid to come through for them so that they may be able to rescue their farms. Another big risk that they're actually avoiding right now, even as they beg for the federal aid, is the fact that these very same funds can be bought by the government for a very cheap price. You know, government will give them peanuts in dollars to ensure that they get that farm, you know, from them and give them to investors. That's another strategy that possibly the government of America is using right now to ensure that these people lose their farms and they are able to take control of these very same farms. They now standardize the prices, lower the tariffs, and ensure that things are working. This is actually a strategy to snatch them their farms that they've been having for generations. And family, that does not concern us in any way because, they voted for that. They thought that interest of marginalized people, you know, will be suppressed and theirs will be put to place. Right now, a rude awakening to them is just okay to many people. They were packed the other day in a Baptist church in Brooklyn, begging for help. They actually came together. Hundreds of these white Arkansas farmers, they came together and were asking for help from the federal government. They had a town hall, had a meeting. Everyone spoke as to why they needed this funding, and some of the reasons they made there is that their farms are falling and they need funds to ensure that they stabilize their farm business. They stabilize, even paying, you know, their employees. The other things they said is that their crop prices have crashed and the cost of fertilizer, fuel, and equipment are skyrocketing. Imagine the cost of fertilizer is going high and high, and even the farmers who actually voted for the president cannot be able to afford the fertilizers. You know, it doesn't make business sense to them having to buy these fertilizers at a very, very high price. Look at farm equipment also being sold at very high prices. How these people be able to manage to run their farms with all these farm equipment if they're actually very, very expensive. You know, this just shows you how the farming scene in America is slowly falling through, of course, voting for Donald Trump. Right now, farming in America is going down and down each and every day. Look at the cost of groceries right now in America. That just can tell you, or rather show you, the farming system right now it's not working thanks to the suppression of the government led by Donald J. Trump. The other thing they're complaining about is deportation. You know, they're losing a lot of these immigrants who are working in their farms, some of which were even documented. But now everyone was afraid and everyone was rushing to get out of America because if you are to be deported, you're not being deported to your country. The other day I saw people being deported to Uganda and I wonder, where did they even come from? Where are they going to Uganda and these other funny countries? You know, you come from, let's say, from Ghana, then now you're deported to Kenya or to some other country that is not even related to yours. It even does not make sense. So these mass deportations are also affecting these farmers hugely. And that is some of the things that they were actually addressing. Then there is tariffs. The tariffs have affected the farming sector so much. The biggest market of soybeans, in Arkansas has been China. And with the high foreign aids right now, with the high tariffs, it's very difficult for them to get a foreign market, which they actually highly depend on, making it very difficult for them business-wise, for them to be able to sell their farm produce. They remain with the farm produce, and most of the time they are even going to the risk of them even spoiling, if they are not dry foodstuffs. Just imagine what is happening right now in Arkansas. But for me, what I'd say, in my own opinion, this is something that the white Arkansas farmers actually deserve, because they chose to vote for Donald Trump. They thought actually that their interest would be met, and they thought that everything will run smoothly for them. But right now, they are having a rude awakening, the biggest FAFO moment yet in 2025. Family, in a special way, I'd highly request you all to comment down below. Let me know what you think about the video. Do you support the white Arkansas farmers, even as they beg for federal aid, in this time where farming is becoming difficult each and every day? Or do you think that they actually deserve, what they are going through because they actually voted for Donald Trump? Kindly like the video so that it can be recommended to other YouTube users, and I'd be very grateful. Fam, lastly, I'd highly appreciate if you all took your time to subscribe to the channel. We are currently on the road to 50,000 subscribers, and guys, in a special way, I'd want you all to be a part of this amazing journey. Thank you so much, and see you all in our next episode. Goodbye for now.